First up is Johnny Vidakovich, one of the Crescent City's greatest unsung drumming heroes, with drummers like Stanton Moore of Galactic and jazz drumming heavyweight phenom, one of my favorite drummers, Brian Blade, citing Vidakovich as an influence and teacher. You have to know he's doing something right. Johnny started playing the drums at the age of 10. He's played behind New Orleans greats such as Tan Cannery, Johnny Adams, Professor Longhair, and Mose Allison, as well as leading his own group, ASTRAL Project, which I actually had the privilege of seeing live at the Maple Leaf while I lived in New Orleans years back. Always original, always serving the music, and always carving his own path. Johnny has influenced entire generations of musicians coming out of the New Orleans and the surrounding area. Next, swinging in hard, is Brittany Bowman. Some of you may recognize Brittany from a video I did a few years back where I hired drummers on Fiverr to play a track for me. Brittany was the standout of that group, and since then her career has absolutely skyrocketed. Brittany got her first drum set at the age of 10 and spent her early years playing punk rock. She's currently touring the world with superstar Demi Lovato. In addition, she has played and recorded or toured with King Mala, Royal and the Serpent, Meg Myers, and many more. I recently had Brittany as a guest on my weekly student video call I host with my online students. We had nothing but great feedback on how much the students loved hearing from her. Hard-hitting, hard-working, with a style all her own. Keep an eye on her for years to come. This next guy blows my brain open. Chris Turner. Some of you may know him. Chris Turner is an award-winning drummer, composer, and producer from Birmingham, England. He's also the mind-bending drummer for the metalcore band Ocean's 8 Alaska. Born to a drumming father, Chris decided he wanted to play the drums at a really early age. His drumming has been described as frantic and aggressive, with a stare that has earned him the nickname The Robot. He's known for his technical, hard-hitting, and painstakingly precise drumming without the aid of anything unnatural like triggers. And you really don't believe it until you see him play live. I recently watched an Instagram clip of Chris rehearsing a part on his practice pad, playing nothing but the tile floor with his tennis shoes for the kick drum. It was jaw-dropping. He says he always likes to nail a part on the practice pad and with his feet playing the floor before he moves it to the drum set. Next up, we've got Miles Stone. Miles is the drummer for multi-award-winning country artist CODY Johnson. CODY currently sells out arenas and stadiums across the world, with Miles providing the rhythmic background for all he does. CODY has been drumming since the age of 5. His mother claims it was even before that. Last year, I had the privilege of playing with a group that was on tour with CODY Johnson. Miles and I immediately hit it off. This month, he was our guest artist for my online drum school, and his story is nothing short of inspiring. He's a fantastic, energetic live drummer, a kind human, and a dedicated family man. Speaking of my online drum school, my Drum Better Daily program has been going for 12 years now. Not only do we have a killer guest artist, several on this list actually, but there is an online campus with over 70 courses, weekly live student calls, forums, play-alongs, and tons more. If you're needing help with your drumming and want to join a community of like-minded, dedicated drummers, I would love to have you be a part of it. Check out the link in the video description to learn more. Next is someone originally from New York City that is now a Nashville resident. I recently had her as well as a guest artist for my students, none other than the incredible Elizabeth Chan. Elizabeth is small, but she packs an incredible punch with her drumming. I actually was first recommended to her by several legendary session drummers in the Nashville area, Scott Williamson being one of them. You've seen him on several of my videos, for her deep pocket, professionalism, and her extremely kind nature, which is all very, very true. In addition to being a sought-after session musician here in Nashville, Elizabeth has drummed and/or toured extensively for 8-time Grammy Award winner Carrie Underwood, country music legend Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish, multi-platinum artist Keith Urban, powerhouse country trio Lady A, The Voice Australia finalist Ben Hazelwood, Billboard ACCHR chart topper Holland, and 2014 GMA Dove Award New Artist of the Year Ellie Holcomb. She recently stepped down as the drummer with Carrie Underwood and is now currently holding down the drum chair for 4-time Grammy nominee Mickey Guyton. This next guy blows my head open. I love him. When it comes to deep pocket and living a uniquely designed life, no one does it better on a higher level than session great Aaron Sterling. Before I go any further, if you don't follow him on Instagram, go do that like right now. I promise you won't be disappointed. Aaron is a drummer, producer, and engineer now residing in the Nashville, Tennessee area. He's played drums on hundreds of recordings over the past years. Artists he has worked with and still regularly works with are heavyweights like Taylor Swift, Sarah Bareilles, The Civil Wars, Miley Cyrus, Keith Urban, Maren Morris, James Bay, Lana Del Rey, Lady Antebellum, Richie Sambora, Chris Christopherson, Gavin DeGraw. Literally, I am going to just let these names scroll while I'm talking because there's too many to read here. Shakira, Blake Shelton, Lord, Selena. I'm just gonna stop reading those and just let them scroll while I'm talking. This guy is seriously on everything these days. You'll also be hard-pressed to meet a kinder, more enthusiastic human being. And speaking of huge artists, a lot of people recently caught him on tour live with John Mayer, which is kind of rare because he's usually in the studio just doing his thing. Going a little back in time and down south for another local New Orleans legend, we've got the late, great James Black. Black was born in 1940 and soaked up the rhythms of New Orleans at an early age. By the early 60s, he was already doing session work for artists like Fats Domino. He played early on in his career with budding jazz legend Ellis Marsalis, as well as brothers Nat and Cannonball Adderley. He went on to play with Yusuf Lateef and Lionel Hampton in the mid-60s, but had his career interrupted by a stint in the Angola State Penitentiary, which didn't really slow him down too much, during which that time he actually played in a prison band with blues pianist James Booker and saxophonist Charles Neville. After his release, he paid his bills playing R&B gigs around town. He preferred jazz, but in 1968 became the house drummer for the Scram record label. To check out his incredibly funky drumming, you need to go no further than Eddie Bo's Hook and Sling. Eddie Bo was kind of the New Orleans answer to the James Brown, just a New Orleans version. One of New Orleans' greatest funk singles. James passed away, unfortunately, in 1988 of a drug overdose. Heading back towards California, we have another drummer that is a student favorite as a guest artist on my weekly student calls with my Drum Better Daily program members, and that is session great Mark Stepro. Originally from Ohio, Mark now resides in LA. Mark was introduced to me by our mutual friend and incredible drummer, Steve Gould. He's performed on every continent except Antarctica and has appeared multiple times on The Late Show with David Letterman, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, Craig Ferguson, and Carson Daly, Jimmy Kimmel Live, CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, and The Late Show with James Corden. Since 2010, Mark has been working with Butch Walker, both in Walker's capacities as a solo artist and as a record producer, recording with Train, Panic at the Disco, Jewel, Keith Urban, Grabbin' DeGraw, Brian Fallon of the Gaslight Anthem, and Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20. Additionally, he has performed or recorded with the Wallflowers, Leon Bridges, Shooter Drings, Hayes Carl, Dan Wilson, Brett Dennen, the Old 97s. Literally, I'm going to let these just scroll because there's too many to read. He's a passionate student, and he has studied with teachers Ed Sove, Steve Houghton, and Glenn Koch of Wilco. Now for a drummer you have most definitely heard, a drummer who has influenced an entire generation of musicians, but is still not a household name, and when I mention him, a lot of drummers kind of tilt their head and go, who? It's Topper Headon of The Clash. Topper was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2003 with the rest of the Clash band. He started playing drums at an early age with a love for jazz and world rhythms. Go back and listen to the catalog of The Clash to understand how well versed Topper is. Rumor has it that he beat out over 100 drummers for that drumming spot in The Clash. He effortlessly wove world rhythms into a punk rock setting. His drumming on their song Train in Vain has been characterized as one of the most important and distinctive beats in all of rock music history. If you love Stuart Copeland, Topper is your man. Unfortunately, his career with Clash was cut short due to his heroin addiction. I do believe he has recovered from that and is back playing. He has continued playing and performing since that time. And last, but definitely not least, one of my favorite drummers of all time, Mr. Dave King of the Bad Plus. You should pause this video and go check out his drumming series called Rational Funk, which was kind of a comedy spoof series. It is, I'm telling you, there's hours there and you'll just spend it laughing. Dave hails out of Minneapolis and is a founding member of the groups The Bad Plus and Happy Apple. In addition to these groups, Dave is active in many other jazz and free jazz projects. He's recorded or performed with artists like Bill Frisell, Joshua Redman, Joe Lovano, Dewey Redman, Chris Speed, Ursus Minor with Tony Hymas, Jeff Lee Johnson, Fred Choice, Cornelope, Jeff Beck, Julian Lodge, if I'm saying that right, Boots Riley, and Dead Prez. Joe Guido, Welsh, Victor Cross, he's recorded with so many. Last year I had the privilege of having Dave as a guest artist on a call. I've also taken a private lesson with him, and he just blew my mind with his musical knowledge and unique ability to relay complex musical concepts and ideas. He's an incredibly unique composer, drummer, teacher, and human. Dave will go down as one of the jazz greats.